Welcome to the MSJC Internet Authoring Videocast.
Welcome to CSIS 113B Lecture 4. This is our continuation of decision structures. In this lecture, we'll cover the conditional operator, which is a shorthand if, and the switch statement. So here is the conditional operator, a shortcut for an if-else. So the idea here is that we just simply put the condition in a set of parentheses. Notice there's no key word before the condition, no if before the condition. The condition inside of the parentheses is followed then by a question mark symbol. Then we type out if the condition is true, what the statement we want to run. If it is true, that's followed by a colon and then the false statement. So when you want to check a condition and just have a single true statement and a single false statement, this is a nice compact way of doing that. And notice this is referred to as the conditional operator. There is a test question that asks you to create a program using the conditional operator, and if you use a if-else, you're going to fail that question. This is the format for the conditional operator. Here you can see it in code format. So we're assigning to a variable named bonus amount the results of our conditional operator. Here is an example of the conditional operator, also known as the ternary operator, by the way, because it requires 3 operands. We've got a variable named bonus amount, and we're going to assign to it the results of running the conditional operator. So our condition is we're checking to see if amount sold is less than or equal to $35,000. If that is true, then amount sold times 30.035 is the value we'll store in bonus amount. If that condition were false, then 100 plus the amount sold times 0.075 will be what's assigned to the bonus amount. So that conditional operator is equivalent to the if-else statement you see below. Here we've got the if keyword, checking the condition amount sold to see if it's less than or equal to 35,000. If it's true, bonus amount being assigned, amount sold times 0.035. If it's not true, then bonus amount is equal to 100 plus amount sold times 0.075. And as I said previously, this is one of the most missed exam questions. When you're being asked to use the conditional operator, remember that you're using the first example here, not the second one. Next, we'll take a look at the switch statement, which allows for multi-way branching. So when you need to deal with multiple choices and assigning values based on a particular choice, you could use the nested if and ladder style if-else, but it can make the code kind of convoluted, hard to read. So remember, your goal is always to make your code self-documenting as possible, easy to read as possible. So when you have multiple choices, again, you might consider the switch statement to be a better choice. The way the switch statement works, if you look in the example there, is we use the keyword switch, and then we put an expression in between the parentheses there. And in this case, the expression is not going to be a true or a false value. It's going to be an actual value. So it might be even a mathematical expression, but it'll have to resolve to a single value. Then we create a switch block, which consists of the open curly brace and the closed curly brace. Inside of the switch block, you'll see that we have case statements. The case is where we identify the value that we're going to compare to the test expression. So if the case is met, then the statement assigned with that case will be run, and you could have multiple statements. The key is that you want to add a break statement after your last statement for a case. If you don't put a break there, then it just falls through to the next case. In this example, we only have 2 cases. So case value 1, whatever that value is, being compared to the test expression that's being passed into the switch block. If they match, then statement 1 will be processed, and then it breaks out from there, meaning goes past the closing curly brace and starts processing, continues processing from there. If the value for case value 2 compares to the test expression, then that statement would be run. Again, we break out, execute the statement that occurs after the closing curly brace. And notice there is a default statement, so if neither of our case values match the test expression, then we'll have a default statement that will run. So the keys here are to make sure that you have each case represented that you want to have evaluated, and then make sure that you have a break at the end of each of the case blocks. Now we'll show you an example here in just a little bit where you might have multiple values that you want to test, and you might want to have the same results, the same statement processing for multiple cases. So we'll show you an example of that. But if you're just checking individual cases and each case is going to have a different result, just make sure you have a break after the statement block for each case. And then you should always have a default case as well. So you just type in the word default : and that means if any of the previous case values have not been met, then that's the default statement that's going to run. So we've talked about how it works. Switch will evaluate the test expression to see if any cases are matched. The test expression can be of any type of value, int, string, bool, etc. But floats and doubles not recommended for reasons that we stated earlier about decimal precision or lack thereof of those types. Each case can have any number of statements in it, and the default statement works like the else portion of an if statement. Here is an example. Essentially, we're checking the input from a user to see whether they want to run a Word program, an Excel program, a PowerPoint program, or exit. So depending on whether they enter a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 is what we're checking for. So you can see that we assign integer selection variable the value of the input from the user. We use the selection variable then as the value we're going to test here in the switch block. So case the value is 1, then we're going to output running Word, and then notice the break there. If the selection value is 2, then we're going to print out running Excel. Again, we have the break. If the selection value is 3, we are going to type or print out running PowerPoint. Again, a break. If it's 4, then we're going to type out goodbye. If it's neither of those, if it's none of those values, then we're going to type out invalid entry. So as I said earlier, omitting the break statement causes code to fall through to the next case, and sometimes you may want this to occur. That allows you to execute the same code for multiple conditions. So we'll show you that here in this next slide. This is a good example to demonstrate where you might have multiple conditions, and each of those conditions you want to have the same output for them. So this is where a switch block without breaks after the case can be effective. Essentially, we're just taking a character in from the user from the keyboard, assigning it to a string s, and then we want to convert that value that they've typed in to a char. So then we create a char variable and assign it the value of our string after running the char at 0 method. In other words, grab the first character from the string, convert it to a char, and then assign it to our char C. So it's char C then, and notice it's 2 uppercase that we're using there. So it's character dot and the method 2 uppercase with our C in there, the value we want to convert to uppercase. That way we didn't have to have a case for the lowercase vowels in here. We just had to have cases for the uppercase vowels. And then we have A, E, I, O, U with no break statements in there until the last one, till the U. And so in any of those cases, if the user typed in an A, an E, an I, an O, or a U, the output to the screen will read the letter they typed in plus is a vowel. Now, if they didn't type in a vowel, then it defaults to the last case, the default case, and that outputs the letter they typed in, followed by is not a vowel. Some of the pitfalls for switch identified here. So forgetting the break statement when needed, you might get results that you don't expect. And realize that the condition, by not putting the break in the right place, doesn't generate a compiler error. It just means, as I say, you might get some results you don't expect. So just make sure that you put in the breaks when you don't want to have execution fall through to other cases within the switch block. And then when the break is encountered, it just escapes out of the switch block and then processes the next statement after the switch block. So to review, we took a look at the conditional operator, which is the shorthand if, and mentioned to you that that is a question that you'll have on one of your exams. So make sure that you use the conditional operator, not the if-else. And then we gave you a couple examples of how to use the switch statement when you wanted to handle multiple choices. That's the end of Lecture 3B. Till next time, happy coding. If you liked this video, please click the like button and leave us a comment down below. I also would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, click the notification bell so that you'll be notified when new videos are posted.